This is a Hot Pie Original.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening and watching on YouTube. Just wanted to let you know we have an extended version of this interview with John Stockton where we go in depth talking about COVID, the pandemic, etc. It's not on YouTube, but it is on all of our other platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, Pandora, etc. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the DNP-CD Sports podcast presented by Oddshark. I am Chad Fisher, alongside my co-host, as always, Mr. Tony Farmer. How you doing, brother?
Just okay. You know, we just got a Hall of Famer on the show today.
Just no big deal.
No big
one of
deal.
the top 50 players of all time. Probably, in my opinion, the best point guard of all time.
Yeah.
So, just another day at the office, man. You know?
I'd say I'm doing pretty darn good when we're about to interview John Stockton in a couple minutes.
Super excited, man. Cannot wait to talk to John. This guy I grew up watching, man, so it's going to be really interesting. So
everybody grew up watching him because he made the playoffs 19 years in a row.
Unreal, man. We're going to get into some of the stats that are just like straight up bananas, man, that he put up. That there's a lot of stats that we've integrated into this interview that will just show how amazingly talented this guy was. But
and the other thing is he doesn't give a lot of interviews. He's a pretty private guy. So the fact that he's giving us some time today means a lot to the show. We're a show that's growing quickly, and the fact that we were able to get a guest of his caliber so early on means a lot to us.
Crazy.
And a cool, down-to-earth guy. I can't wait to pick his brain.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. There's so many questions I've got for him, for sure. But before we do that, let's tell everybody about Oddshark. Oddshark is your source for the latest odds from leading authorities, expert editorial content, the hottest sports news, and detailed matchup picks. Looking for statistics and trends for an upcoming game? Oddshark has that too, and it's free. In-depth expert analysis, odds, and trends to help you make the sharp game day picks. They've got decades of stats in their databases, and their insiders give you takes so hot they say so. You could tell what I meant there.
That was good.
Say so. They're your one-stop shop for all your odds info on sports and pop culture events. Want to get a better understanding of the odds and the math behind the numbers? How's the line set? Why do lines move during the week on the NFL odds list? Oddshark will give you all the tools you need. They're a proven industry powerhouse. Oddshark has info from around the globe, giving you the chance to access the best sports odds on the planet. Whether you want to check out tonight's football odds, this week's hockey or basketball trends, or anything in between, head on over to Oddshark and start thinking like a shark today. You got to go there, man, before you place a bet. And we're going to talk about, in honor of having John Stockton on, we're going to do some NBA futures for the Western Conference. Right?
Absolutely. And for those of you who maybe this is your first time watching our show, we do this every show. We have a little betting segment before our interviews. In today's betting segment, we're going to be talking about the Western Conference futures, as Chad said. So let's get to Utah in a second. But first, Chad, I want to ask you, what do you think about Denver at 10-1 is the best line I see? Oddshark is great because you can compare the different sites. I see a 10-1 as my best option for Denver.
That's not a bad number. They got the league MVP and Jokic. Jamal Murray should be back from injury. I don't know if he's going to miss the start of camp or the first couple weeks of the season or how long he's going to be out. But that's a well-coached team. Mike Malone, I know him from my time in Cleveland when I covered the Cavs. He was an assistant coach for the Cavs at that time, and I loved that guy, man. The players loved him too. On that team, you had some really, Larry Hughes, LeBron, obviously, Damon Jones, all those guys that were on that team. They loved Mike Malone, and I like him too. I'm a big fan of his. So I could see them having the best record in the Western Conference for sure.
All right, I'm going to hit you with two more.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas at 15-1. Can I tempt you with that?
Oh, dude, yeah, totally. It's going to be interesting to see what Jason Kidd does. I'm not a huge Jason Kidd fan, but you got Luka Doncic. Anything is possible, man.
Sure.
That guy is going to be one of the front runners for the MVP next year. Would not be surprised whatsoever if he ends up winning that. So, yeah, I think you said they're 15-1?
Yep, 15-1 is the best option. There's also a 12-1 , but obviously we go with the 15-1.
Yeah. So I think that's a pretty good number, man. That's something you might want to jump on. You could see Luka making a bigger leap even than he did last year. It'll be interesting to see how that team responds to a new coach as well.
All right, and then 7.5-1 for the Utah Jazz, plus 750.
I like that, man, because I think that was a team that we felt like, definitely underachieved this year. A lot of people thought with them having the best record in the NBA last year that they were going to have a shot, or at least be in the Western Conference Finals. They ended up getting beat by the LA Clippers, who didn't have Kawhi those last few games against the Jazz. It's kind of very, very disappointing that they weren't able to even get to the Western Conference Finals with that lineup. So I can see them. Yeah, they had a great season last year. Now it's time for them to make that next jump, and we'll see if John Stockton's former team can make that jump into becoming the best team in the Western Conference. I would not be surprised, man, because right now we're starting to see like a changing of the guard in the NBA. A lot of those premier players that have run the league for the last 10 or 15 years starting to age a little bit. Starting to see some new guys come in, and I think Mitchell is going to be one of those guys that can make that leap and can be a MVP type candidate.
Great info from Chad about today's Utah Jazz. Let's transition a little bit and talk about yesteryear's Utah Jazz. Let's bring in John Stockton.
All right, our guest today was a 10-time NBA All-Star, a 2-time Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame inductee. In 1996, he was named one of the 50 greatest players of all time. He is the NBA's all-time leader in assists and steals, and no one's even close to him. He also led the NBA with 34 games with 20-plus assists, which is remarkable. He led the NBA in assists for 9 consecutive seasons. He also led the Utah Jazz to the franchise's only 2 NBA Finals trips. He was a member of the famed Dream Team, and his accomplishments are seriously too long to list. And frankly, he needs no introduction. It's an honor and a privilege to welcome to the DNP-CD Sports podcast, John Stockton. How you doing, brother? Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. John, I got to ask you, brother, one of the first things that people think of when your name comes up is the short shorts. And I know everyone wants to know the genesis and permeation of the short shorts. I'm sure when you started hooping, they were super fashionable. Then later in your career, you stuck with them even when fashion was trending in the opposite direction. I want to know, was it just more comfortable for you to wear those, or were you just trying to turn your wife on while you was playing and stuff? What was going on there?
Well, maybe we accomplished everything, but it was, I never knew I had a choice. When I arrived there, I wore the shorts they gave me, and I didn't know until probably my second to last year. Of course, they were getting a lot of attention by then. I didn't really know that you could change the inseam. I just figured that that's the shorts they gave you. So it didn't matter to me as long as I got a chance to play.
Yeah, I got to tell you, brother, I got some short shorts on. I don't know if we can get this on camera here, but I wore them.
I don't know if we want to.
No, you do. Oh, no. I don't got them Stockton legs, but they still look good, Johnny. Come on, buddy. But now those short shorts are coming back in style, brother. You got to feel a sense of pride about that because you kind of started that.
Yeah, well, I guess. I mean, it's at least the attention getting part of it. So, yeah, if they want to give me credit for that, I'll take
it. For sure.
John, in 97, 98, you missed the first 18 games of the season. Very rare for you, by the way. You were super durable throughout your career. But you missed the first 18 games of the season. You guys still made the finals. That was a significant amount of time to miss. How were you able to overcome that and get back to the finals?
Well, I had great care, both beforehand and during and after, really. I mean, the staff with the Jazz was incredible. They provided every opportunity. I have a special guy with the staff as well. I mean, first of all, the surgeon did a heck of a job. The doctors that took care of us the whole time, heck of a job. But the guy with us was our team chiropractor, which kind of broadened my horizons and taught me a lot about how I allow my body to heal itself and take care of it. And I like to credit him, Craig Bueller's his name, with really a lot of my longevity because he kept things balanced and nothing ever got too far out of control as far as my body was concerned.
Your longevity, I don't know that it's ever going to be duplicated in this day and age because of the load management and things of that. I'm not sure how closely you're following the NBA these days, but it's just pretty remarkable. What do you think is the reason that people aren't able to do that today and stay consistently on the court?
That's a good question. There's probably a lot that goes into it. I know as I was growing up, and we didn't even have water in the gyms. You know, now these kids have water bottles. Their moms are bringing them water bottles. Any little boo-boo and you're sat on the sideline. I get why. I mean, you don't want to ruin a season or career, but I think so much is lost when you don't warrior through some things. You know, you never really know what your capabilities are until you play sick or till you play with a boo-boo or two. And I don't know. I just think those are great strides for yourself as an individual and as an athlete and as a person if you do it. But I don't think it's in vogue, and really not much I can do about it.
And it's possible to play that long because you missed only 22 games in 19 years, and you missed 18 of them in one season. So 4 games in 18 years. I mean, that's remarkable. So you've shown that it can be done, but it's just not being done right now, obviously.
Plus, I don't know. I mean, how I looked at it, I don't know how other guys are looking at it, but how I looked at it was every game's a privilege. I remember the first game I missed, I held back tears. I just couldn't fathom missing, to get to that point where you get to play in an NBA basketball game and to pass up on that opportunity for anything. I mean, my arm would almost have to be dangling for me not to play. And, so a little bit, you have to be willing to go there if it's that important to you. And it was for me.
Yeah. Tony and I both feel like you're the best point guard of all time. Even though you're a Hall of Famer, we still think you're underrated, which is crazy. Do you think your career is judged differently? And is it fair? Do you feel like you're underrated at all, or do you even care?
I don't, you never say don't care because it sounds like you're aloof from it and distant, and I'm not. Obviously, I would love people to think highly of how I played and, saw something special about it, but I don't have control over that. So, I basically leave it now. I say, look, that's it. That was my career. You like it or don't like it. There's nothing I can do about it. So I don't dwell on it. That's for certain.
Yeah.
You remember that 92 iconic dream team, greatest basketball team ever assembled, probably will be the greatest basketball team that will ever be assembled in the future as well. Can you give us some insight? What were practices like? Do you have any funny stories that you remember from hanging out with that caliber of guys all that time in Barcelona?
Yeah, I don't know how funny they were. I do remember. I ended up, I'm sure I broke my leg in the Tournament of Americas in Portland that year when we were qualifying. We had to qualify that year because USA didn't win the Olympics, the Olympics before. So we actually had to qualify, and broke my leg in a silly little bumping of knees basically in that tournament. But so I missed a lot of the stuff really preceding the Olympics, but the stuff preceding that tournament was of the best basketball I've ever seen, ever watched, ever been part of in my life. It's to have the overall basketball IQ of those men on the court and the love of the game. And boy, you didn't even need a play. Everybody understood spacing. Everybody understood timing. Everybody could pass. Everybody could score. It was basketball heaven. And I'm not ashamed to say it. It was the most incredible team that certainly I've ever seen.
That's awesome. We talked about your toughness and your durability and everything. Chris Webber told a really good story about you. He said that going into a game, he made it his mission to lay you out. And the first chance he got, he set a super hard pick on you, got you on the shoulder, got you under the chin a little bit. You fell down. He knocked you on the ground, and you immediately got up, pat him on the butt, and said, "That's a good pick." I want to know, was that a big part of your identity, being so tough? You weren't a big guy, obviously, but nobody could deny your toughness, right?
Well, I know that if you get knocked down and you wilt, then that's the new bottom line, and you never want to be at the bottom line. You want to keep trying to excel and accept challenges. And sometimes those are physical challenges. And, I like to think I was never shy about those. I like the physical contact. I think it's part of the game. It's not just that can you play 48 minutes and be as good at the end of the 48 minutes as you were at the start? Have you conditioned yourself to do those things? And have you conditioned yourself to take the punishment? Have you conditioned yourself to do all of the above and still have your concentration available because you're not fatigued? And I think that all goes into training and preparation. And I like to think that we at the Jazz, especially Karl, Karl Malone, who was a great in-house competitor along with me to try to prepare ourselves for those seasons, makes you ready, and it makes the seasons fun.
Yeah, definitely. In that same interview that we were talking about Chris Webber, he also said that before a playoff game against y'all, he made the rookies wait on the bus, and he said, quote, "Watch the baddest man in the world pull up." And that you pulled up in a minivan. You was probably yelling at your kids not to get food on the seat or to pick up some trash or something like that. And these players couldn't believe it. He went on to say, quote, "And he would come in and he will bust us up." You're truly one of a kind, John. We just want to know, there's never going to be another player like you. You know what I'm saying? So how many players do you know that would pull up to a playoff game in a minivan, yelling at their kids in an Izod polo, and then throw down 20 assists? That'll never happen again, right, John? No one's going to do that, right?
Well, it doesn't appear so. We had to park the van by the garbage dumpster because that was the one spot. And if anybody was yelling at, I probably had my game face on by then, so my wife was probably doing any barking that needed to be done.
You brought up Karl Malone earlier. Can you just talk about his relationship? Have you seen the mailman recently? I mean, you guys keep in touch, and what made your relationship so special? I mean, the longest duo in NBA history, 1,412 games together. Can you just talk about that dynamic a little bit?
Well, it's a long story. He's a special guy. And we met actually in the Olympic trials in 84. We were both cut from it. And one day we found ourselves at the lunchroom amongst, 80 guys or whatever it was. And just he and I at the table, and we just started talking. And I mean, we couldn't be more different. He's from the country. I'm from Spokane. I mean, we're opposite sides of the country. And we kind of hit it off. We became friends right there in one lunch period. And then we met again after he was drafted. We met at the Hogle Zoo up in Salt Lake to welcome him to town. And it's like we hadn't missed a beat, like we'd known each other our whole lives. And then playing together, I think anybody would. The guy's amazing. First of all, preparation, hands, strength, control of his body, talent. He showed up with us, and it seemed like I could throw him the ball anywhere and he could catch it and finish it, whether he was alone or where three guys were draped on him. Defensively, he was a monster. I mean, he's just one of those special guys that frankly, I think is one of the greatest of all times. And, but again, people will look at me and say, well, that's just because that's your boy. But I think it's true also.
We agree.
One of my favorite players growing up too, man. I love the mailman. I want to ask you, in the 96-97 Western Conference Finals, you hit that buzzer beater over Charles Barkley, a super iconic shot to send the Jazz to the finals. Do you still talk shit to Barkley about that? Anytime you see him, do you just do the celebration that you did? He'll know what you're talking about as soon as you do that, right?
Yeah, my kids still make fun of that, whatever that was, the celebration. But no, I've never in that league. I've never talked trash with those guys. What goes around comes around, and to get one victory over Charles Barkley or Hakeem Olajuwon or any of the guys on that squad, I'll take it. That was a big one for us.
Yeah.
After Jordan made that iconic last shot against you guys, you missed a shot to win it, and you said that you thought that shot was going in. Does that still piss you off? Does that kind of haunt you a little bit? How often do you think about that opportunity?
No, nothing really haunts me. I guess I'm pretty comfortable with everything. We didn't win a championship. I sure would have loved to and would have given anything to do it, but there's nothing I can do about that now. I have great respect for Michael, and he hit big shots. And if I made it, we might have been having a different discussion, but we didn't. And I don't really lose any sleep over that one.
Yeah. I'm dying to know, when we found out we were going to interview, one of the first questions that popped in my mind that I wanted to ask you, what did Coach Sloan say to you guys in the huddle before Jordan took that shot? Obviously, y'all knew he was going to take the shot, but what was the defensive alignment and strategy, and how did you feel about Coach putting Brian Russell one-on-one with Jordan? Were you comfortable with that?
Well, I think that Brian did a heck of a job guarding Michael. I mean, you know how that is when guys make the big shots. You mentioned me shooting over Charles. Brian did a heck of a job. I think that was the lowest shooting percentage Michael had in any championship series, maybe any playoff series. So the fact that it's over Brian is unfortunate, but he did a heck of a job. And so I don't think anybody, whatever coach recommended, I don't know what it was at this point in time, but we're out on the floor. We're the ones that have to execute it. And should we help, not help, hedge, not help, whatever, you live with it.
Yeah.
John, after you passed Magic Johnson for the most assists on all times, he called you the greatest team leader I have ever played against. Had you heard that before? Do you know that he said that about you? And how does that make you feel, hearing that coming from a guy of his caliber?
Well, any compliment coming from a guy like Magic Johnson. I did have a chance ultimately to play with him on a couple occasions, including the Dream Team, and his wisdom about a lot of things. He's very perceptive about life, about things going on all around, including what's going on in the court. And to sit around and to be able to share thoughts with him was one of the finer moments for me of the Olympics. And for him to say anything kind about it, I go, wow, that is truly something special.
Yeah. One thing I saw while researching this, I noticed that the Jazz renamed the street in front of the stadium John Stockton Drive. That gives you a free pass to drag race and do all kinds of crazy stuff on that street, right? You can't possibly get pulled over on your own street. And if you do, you can just drunkenly tell them, hey, check my license. This street is mine, okay? I'll do whatever the hell I want on this block, okay?
I got to admit that little joke has showed up in the minivan more than once.
That's good. That's good. But also, you got a statue outside of the stadium too, man. Do you ever just? I know if it was me, okay, I'm not John Stockton, but if I was you, I'd be going and hanging out with that statue all the damn time, man. Just take a lunch, go sit down, and have a burger or something, you know.
No, I get for every once in a while, I get friends that'll say they're in town with their kids' AAU team or whatever, and they'll all go take a picture and they'll send it. But I try not to get seen by that statue too much. I don't think it looks right. And like I said, when it happened, I thought that the artist that did it did a great job, but I thought he shorted me a little bit on biceps. Needed to get the calipers out.
Yeah, you got to get them guns. Show them guns, man. Come on.
Got to get the guns. But anyway, that's a great honor. And as I said, when it all happened, it was indicative of an era. You know, it was both Karl and me. We have statues up there, and it's indicative of an era that I think all of Salt Lake and the Utah Jazz crowd are proud of, and I certainly am. So it's awfully neat for all of us, I think.
John, how closely do you follow the NBA today? I mean, the game has changed a lot since your era. Curious how closely you follow it, and is there anybody that you think could even come close to your assist or steal records in today's game?
Well, I tell you, the times I've said, something can never happen has been thrown back in my face a number of times in the last 18 months, but. Yeah, it could happen. The way it's played right now, probably not. There's too many people handling it too many times. There's too many long shots. There's too many all kinds of things. And also there's the longevity issue. And there's, what did you call it? Management. The
load management. Yeah.
Load management. I mean, it's, at the end of the day, you got to put the numbers in. You got to play put the miles in. And it's probably not there's certainly great players out there that are capable of it, but there's a few roadblocks, I think.
John, I want to ask you about the Tim Donaghy scandal, the disgraced referee who acknowledged to betting on NBA games. Your career's overlapped by about 10 years. I'm curious, what were your thoughts about him before the scandal? I'm sure players have different opinions on refs being, strict or loose, etc. What were your thoughts on him as a ref before the scandal, and what was your reaction to the scandal after it broke? Hey, Chad, why don't we take a minute to tell folks about our newest sponsor on the show?
Yeah, we're super proud to announce that the DNP-CD Sports podcast is now sponsored by BetterHelp. That's Better, H-E-L-P. Is there something interfering with your happiness or is preventing you from achieving your goals? I know I can speak from experience, brother. I've been seeing a therapist for over 1.5 years now, and it's been like the best thing I've ever done. The way I feel when I come out of there, the mental clarity that I achieve from going to get therapy, it's awesome, man. I couldn't recommend it more highly. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. You can start communicating in under 48 hours. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional therapy done securely online.
Yeah, and therapists are not all one size fits all.
Right.
They have different levels of expertise. And on this website, there's a broad range of expertise available, which you may or may not have locally in the area that you live. These services are available worldwide. So no matter where you are, you can check them out, and you can log into your account at any time, 24 hours a day, y'all, and send a message to your therapist. You'll get a timely and thoughtful response. Plus, you can schedule weekly videos, phone sessions, really whatever works best for you. So you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy.
Yeah, BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change therapists if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. That's Better, H-E-L-P.
Yeah, Chad, whenever I want to check out a new service like this or buy a product of any kind, I want to see the real reviews from real people who are talking about this product or service. So let's read a couple that I pulled off the BetterHelp website. One says, I highly recommend Garland. He completely understands me. His approach also helped me a lot. He helps me with whatever I want to work out with myself and my relationships. I've seen good progress in my life when I started my counseling with him, and I'm looking forward to having more sessions with him. Another one says, Regina Moyo has been very helpful. I'm going through a divorce and have been really down lately and having a hard time letting go. She provided me with great resources and worksheets to help me through this tough time in my life. So again, if you go to their website, betterhelp.com, you can see these testimonials from real people posted daily. If you visit betterhelp.com, that's HELP/DNP, you can join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional.
Yeah, and therapy is not one size fits all. As you said, there's a variety of problems people suffer from, whether it's divorce, like you mentioned in those reviews, relationships, stress at work, loss of a loved one. It's incredibly important to get help. And BetterHelp is becoming very, 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 very popular. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp. They are recruiting additional therapists in all 50 states. We have a special offer for our listeners. Go to BetterHelp, HELP.com/DNP, and you're going to get 10% off your first month. That's an awesome deal, brother. You got to take advantage of it. Mental health is so important, especially nowadays. It's no longer taboo to talk about this. People realize the importance of mental health, and people are trying to take control of that and get help, and that's why BetterHelp is so important.
Yeah, and like you said at the top, we're proud of this sponsorship. We're proud to be partnering with them because we feel like we're making a difference. You know, people are watching this show, might reach out to them. We're saving you money as well, which you know we really like to do on this show. So that's a win-win-win in my book.
Yeah, definitely. You want to go to their website. That's betterhelp.com/DNP, and you're going to get 10% off your first month.
It didn't really strike me much one way or the other, good, bad, or indifferent. You're right. You make assessments of refs just like people make assessment of players, and there were some that you felt were just the hardest working, most honest, and there's other where you went, I don't know. But all in all, I think those men are doing a great job for us and did a great job for us and tried to give us their best. It doesn't mean they got every call right.
Yeah,
for sure. And then after the scandal broke, did you have any thoughts? Did you want to go back and look at some tape and be like, man, did I miss out on a game here or something?
Hey, life's too short. Obviously it makes you think, doesn't it? And but life's too short to go back. We can't change it. And so no, I never did. Never had a hankering to go back and look.
The Jazz made the playoffs all 19 years you were there, which is incredible. And you played it till you were 41, which is remarkable. I'm 37. And if I can still dress myself and shoot a jumper by the time I'm 41, I'll be happy. But I gotta know, what's the secret to your incredible longevity? You mentioned earlier about the trainers in Utah and everything like that. But did it have anything to do with your diet, stress level, all that stuff? But how were you able to compete at such a high level until you were 41 years old?
Well, a little bit of luck certainly involved in that. I mean, you see catastrophic injuries all the time, and there's just probably nothing you can do about that. All you can do is preparation. My friend Steve DeLong, who was the athletic trainer at Gonzaga, kind of a jack of all trades. At the time, we became buddies and workout partners for the entire time of my career. And he'd not even set up workouts. We just go work out together, and he'd make suggestions and tweak this and tweak that. And, I was ready for the seasons, you know. So the little things you can avoid, you do. The little things that happen, you can usually play through because you can adapt around them. And if you're not in great shape, or if you have to get in great shape during camp, that usually bodes well for an injury-riddled season. So I think it all comes down to that: preparation, conditioning, and being ready.
And maintaining that throughout the summer too. Like you said, you're not a guy that just sits on his butt all summer long and then tries to turn it on once camp starts in September or October.
No question. In fact, the summers I kind of add stuff. So I would still do the lifting, I'd still do the running, still do the shooting, but I would add mountain biking, water skiing, a ton of water skiing, and whatever activities with the kids, you know, as they started growing, whether it's football or whatever. So they were busy summers and a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm sure. On May 2nd, 2003, you announced your retirement. Now, most people, especially of your stature, they do that with a press conference. But like a true badass, you just released a statement, which was awesome. Did you do that because that's just your style, or because you just didn't want to answer any ridiculous questions from the media?
I didn't release a statement. Well, oh, really? What happened was the season ends, and it's not exactly a shining moment in my life or career, but the season ends, we lose the game in the playoffs, we fly home, I spend the whole night talking with Karl, and I believe I'm telling him what my intentions are. The next morning I get up and I call my parents. I talk to my wife. I talk to my kids as they walk out the door. I go and met with Larry Miller, the team owner, all with thinking I'm telling all these people that this is my intention. Then we have the team meeting. We go in and the teams meet. That's like we always do. And then you meet with coach afterwards and you talk about next season and preparation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I finally do say to him that I think I'm finished. And then I kind of felt like the walls kind of closed in on me. And then I went out and basically blurted it. One of the announcers that I'd recognized that was local there, she said, well, what are you doing next season or something like that? And I said, well, I think I'm done. I mean, literally just blurted it out.
Wow.
Thinking I had told everybody important to me and I wasn't close. I mean, my wife laid into me pretty good and we had to go chase kids down at their baseball games or whatever it is they were doing to tell them because word was going to get out. So it was more of a blurt, not really a proud moment, but we got through it as family.
Yeah, you said you didn't even release a statement. You're like, they'll figure it out when I'm not in the starting lineup next year. You know, around Halloween when they're announcing some other guy starting point guard, then they'll figure it out. John retired.
Well, that was a hard time for me. You give up something that you love that much.
Yeah.
I didn't know a better way to do it. So again, like not a proud moment. I blurted it, and there we are.
And so I want to ask you in regards to that. How hard was it to transition? Because this is something that you've done your entire life. You played until you were 41 years old. How were those first few months after you decided to hang it up?
Well, the first few months were brutal. I don't know if I've ever felt worse than I did for about 3 or 4 days, period. It was just awful. And then you start to come out of that, and then you start thinking about the future. And your future at that point, I had a wife and 6 kids, and their futures are entwined in mine. And so the decisions I make for me involve them. Do we stay there? Do we move back to my hometown, et cetera? So there's a lot that went into that. And so for a few months, that was difficult. Now, once that decision was made, I was the coach of 9 or 10 different teams. I coached soccer. I coached volleyball. I coached things I didn't know anything about just to be, because then nobody had teams. You couldn't get kids on a team at late notice. So I was getting AAU teams together, Y League team, whatever. So it's been pretty busy. So I buried myself in work, to answer your question.
Yeah. Before we let you go, John, I want to ask you a couple more basketball-related questions. A good friend of mine, Benji, he's a huge fan of yours, like massive John Stockton fan. He actually named his dog after you. His dog is named Stockton. And I want to know, how do you feel about that? Is that weird to you, or is that cool? And did you ever think, growing up in Spokane, Washington, that people were going to be eventually naming their pets after you?
Well, I don't know if I'm overly flattered by the pet, but I have had the opportunity to meet now a bunch of teenagers, kids like that have come around and said, "Hey, I don't know if we've never met, but my name's Stockton something.
Wow.
My parents named me after you." And you know what? That's pretty cool. Parents think that highly of you to do that, and those kids to want to seek me out and come say hello later. That's actually been a bright spot.
Yeah, I'm sure. Only you and 2 other players have garnered more than 1,000 assists in one season, and you did it 7 times, which is ridiculous. Unbelievable. Yeah. How proud are you of that stat? And are you ever like just sitting around with your wife trying to get some love, and you like just start rattling off stats? You're like, listen here, baby. I don't know if you remember this, but I had 7 times. I had more than 1,000 assists in a season. Now, John says it's time for some love. Now, let's get to it.
I guess if there's anybody on this planet that's less impressed by stats than my wife, I'd like to know who it was.
That's the perfect answer.
It's a great pickup line, though.
Answer.
Hey, honey, the NBA's all-time assist leader would like some Cheerios. You mind taking care of that for me, please? So I want to ask you also, you were actually on the list, and maybe you could tell us how accurate this is, but you were on the list to be the Utah Jazz coach before they ultimately decided on Quinn Snyder. How serious were you about getting back into coaching, and do you still consider it?
I haven't considered it of late. I don't know. That's a good question. It's a tough question. I don't know that I was taking it seriously then. I mean, where my life was at that point in time, I'd been coaching my kids, and a bunch of my kids have grown up to be, playing in their high school tournaments and their state tournaments. And that was pretty fun, and to be a part of that with them and to be good at anything you do, you got to spend the time. And so I didn't want to commit my life to that, that grind, and miss kind of one of the gifts that I received from being able to play. Because I was able to play and retire, I was given the gift of getting to watch my kids basically grow up right in front of my eyes, and wasn't considering any other options at that point.
Yeah, I'm sure. I want to ask you real quick about the great Jerry Sloan, the late great Jerry Sloan. Unfortunately, he passed away recently. For those of us that didn't know him, what kind of guy was he? I know I read some articles about him, and I know he spent a lot of time in, I believe, Illinois during the offseason, hunting, fishing, and stuff like that, doing normal guy stuff. But can you tell us what it was like to play for Jerry?
Jerry's a very intimidating guy on the surface. He's very serious about everything he did, and he loved the game of basketball. He loved it so much he demanded that it was reffed properly, played properly, coached properly. Every aspect of it was important to him, and I think that got misunderstood when he would be resistant to something that went awry. Then they'd say, "Oh, that's just Jerry." I said, "No, that's Jerry defending what he believes in." And boy, as a coach, he had our backs. I mean, there's always scuffles and stuff. He's the first guy in it. Everybody knew where he stood. And boy, I'm just so grateful to have him as a friend, to have had him as a friend and as a coach for so many years. It's really a special man.
John, I just want to seriously, though, I love the NBA. It's probably my favorite sport. And I just want to tell you before we let you go, in a league filled with arrogant players and guys not having a true team mentality, chasing titles, changing teams, every couple of years changing teams, going into a situation, exhausting all that team's resources for the next 10 years and going to another team, cough, cough, LeBron James. It's a breath of fresh air to talk to you, because I feel like you are the definition of old school, and you are someone that we're never going to see again. We're never going to see a player like you again to play for the same team for 19 years, went to the playoffs all 19 years, only missed 22 games your entire NBA career. So remarkable. None of that load management BS. You're an easy guy to root for, and I'm so happy that we got an opportunity to talk to you and have you on the show. We would love to have you on again some other time, brother.
Well, you can count on that. I've enjoyed the conversation. I'm grateful to you guys.
We really appreciate it, brother. Have a good day, and we'll talk to you soon for sure.
Sounds good, guys. See ya. Thanks.
Peace, John. All right, that was John Stockton, in my opinion, the best point guard of all time. I'm definitely saying that now that we interviewed him, too. I don't give a shit. The best. Hey, he's better than Jordan, man. I don't give a shit. No, but awesome guy, dude. Yeah. Such a articulate individual. Dude, I knew so much about him, but when I was researching him for this interview, I went through and just found so many crazy stats that this guy's involved in, man. You can list them to your blue in the face. You got 1,400 games with Karl Malone, only missing 22 games in 19 seasons, 18 of which were in one season. So 4 games in 18 years. That's unbelievable, man.
Yeah, 19 straight seasons in the postseason. Yep. And again, the all-time leader in assists and steals. When I'm looking at the greatest players of all time, I like to use the Jerry Rice rule, okay? Take what he does, what that player does, such as Jerry Rice catching touchdowns, receptions, yards, etc. Is anybody close to him in those categories? Yeah. If the answer is no, that is a player that is, in my opinion, the greatest of all time, or really damn close. And what John Stockton does as a point guard is dish out assists, and nobody is close. And nobody's close in steals either.
And that's what's so crazy also is that the NBA, what's awesome about the NBA, man, is that you play offense and defense. You know what I mean? It's not the NFL. No offense to the NFL. I love the NFL, but the ball changes possession or teams, and they go, okay, hold on a second, let's get our defense out on the field. You know what I mean? You don't get to do that in the NBA. 1 minute you're dribbling, 1 minute you're setting a pick, the next minute you're running down the other end of the floor trying to defend. And this guy led the NBA in assists. Okay, leads the NBA in all-time assists and all-time steals. So he was a two-way player. He wasn't just, a guy that's just going out there putting up 40 points a game or whatever and then taking defense off. You know what I mean? When you put him on the worst player or whatever. This guy was guarding point guards. You know what I mean? You can't put John Stockton you can't hide him on some shooter or some 3-and-D guy that just sits in the corner and shoots up corner threes. He was playing, offense and defense, and led the league in both categories. That's so remarkable, man. We'll never see, even if someone does break that record, the assist record or the steals record, they're not going to do both. I know that. So
yeah, for sure, and a cool guy.
Such a cool guy.
So fun to talk to. He was funny at times, like giving it back to us with the jokes and stuff like that. Hilarious at times.
Talking shit about my shorts and everything, talking about my legs. He's saying, I don't know why. I think he was just jealous, man. I think that's what I'm going to tell myself anyway. I call these my Stocktons, man. That's what I call them, actually.
I like it. Absolutely.
My girl likes them, so, But it was awesome to talk to John. Like I said, this is a guy that I grew up watching. So many games that I watched this guy play. So it was awesome to get a chance to talk to him and everything, and pick his brain, man, and find out what made the best point guard in NBA history tick, how he was able to be that good for so long. And
that longevity. Chad, do you remember when we interviewed Jesse Sapolo, when we said, hey, you've played for X amount of seasons? And he said, wait a second, I've actually played for more, because if you count all my postseason games added up. So
he went to 19 playoffs, you know what I mean? So add 19 more years of playoff games in there too, man. So
and often went deep into the playoffs, the finals twice, et cetera. And so that is so much longevity, so much consistency. What an impressive player and an impressive guy off the court as well.
One thing that we didn't get a chance to get to was that when he retired, he wasn't like falling off a cliff. The guy was still putting up numbers.
Yeah, seriously.
He probably could have kept playing. I wanted to ask him that. Maybe next time we get him on the show, we'll be able to ask him that, because I feel like even at 41, he was still pretty damn good, And so it's amazing, the stat that we pointed out, that only 2 other players in NBA history have had more than 1,000 assists in one season, and he did it 7 times. That's just ridiculous. Unreal, man. That's what I'm saying. When you're talking about the best point guards in the NBA, he's got to be number 1 on the list.
Yeah.
And for a variety of reasons, most of which we mentioned in that interview, all the stats and everything that he's accumulated throughout his career is just unbelievable, man.
Yeah, so much fun. And Chad, let's give ourselves a second. And we rarely do this on the air, give ourselves credit, because we don't want to come across as bragging.
Awesome.
But we're less than 20 episodes in. We've had a Hall of Famer on the show. The show is going really well. Our guests really keep improving.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to see where we're going to be a year from now, where we're going to be 6 months from now. And I think that this episode was kind of a moment we'll look back on after the show. Super, super successful for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. This setting the bar high, man. I don't know who the hell we're going to have on next week, but I feel bad. For him, you know what I mean? We're like getting a ball boy from the Trailblazers or something like that. This is not going to live up to expectations, but we got John Stockton on, so that's all that matters, man. Awesome interview. Made my day to be able to talk to that guy. I'm going to go home and watch some old, like the 96-97 Western Conference Finals, I think, man. That's going to be nice, man.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Pour a cold one and watch that. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. So, we want to thank John Stockton for coming on the show. That was just awesome. Awesome guy. Can't wait to hopefully get to talk to him again sometime in the future. Everyone out there that's listening to the show, watching the show, please give us a follow on all social media platforms. We are at DNP-CD Sports. If you're watching on YouTube, that's probably coming up on your screen right now. Give us a follow. Please leave a review. Tell your friends about the show, because we're just going to keep getting better and better. In less than 20 episodes, man, we've had some remarkable guests. And with having John Stockton on the show, it's just going to raise the bar even higher. We're going to be able to get even better guests because of that. Also, check us out on hotpiemedia.com. They got all of our past episodes. They also have a bunch of awesome other podcasts. Pretty much any topic you can think of, Hot Pie's got it covered. And they got some big announcements with some even bigger names that are coming on board with Hot Pie as well here soon. So it's going to be very exciting time at Hot Pie Media right now.
Yeah, if you go to hotpiemedia.com, you can also subscribe to our newsletter, and at DNP-CD Sports on Twitter. We want to hear from you. Interact with us a little bit. I get a lot of questions. They're like, who's controlling your Twitter? Is that you or Chad? And about 90% of the time it's Chad, and it's hilarious. And so we'd love to hear your reactions to Chad's comedy on Twitter.
If you ever see about 10 tweets in a row, that means I'm drunk. I'm just going to let you know. That means I'm getting shit hammered by myself on the couch watching old basketball games or something like that.
Especially if it's Sunday night after a Browns loss. It's more likely. For sure.
Yeah. If you hear some cussing and shit like that, that means I'm just getting drunk by myself on the couch. You know what I mean? So I gave my secrets away, but I still feel like you can still understand what the hell I'm saying most of the time. Anyways, I'm a little bit more liberal when that happens, though, for sure.
For sure.
But so we want to make sure we get OddsShark in here too, man. OddsShark is your source for the latest odds from leading authorities, expert editorial content, and detailed matchup picks. Looking for statistics and trends for an upcoming game? OddsShark has that too, and it's free. In-depth expert analysis, stats, numbers, and trends to help you make the sharp game day picks. Whether you want to check out tonight's football odds, this week's hockey or basketball trends, or anything in between, head on over to OddsShark and start thinking like a shark today. You got to go to OddsShark before you place a bet. Got to get those numbers. As we talked about earlier in the show, the Western Conference Finals. We're going to preview some more NBA and NFL as the weeks drag on here, and you got to go over there, man, because they got some awesome information. They got awesome
great
content.
articles,
great articles
as well. Before you place a bet, before you put a bet in, you might want to read a little something to make sure you're thinking like some of the experts analysis folks are thinking as well.
Yeah, exactly, man. If you're not feeling confident about a certain particular sport or a game or something like that, go over to OddsShark. Read all the stuff that they got on there, and it'll help you. It'll help you make some money, man, for sure. It'll definitely help you feel more confident about your picks and everything. So we want to thank everyone for listening. Thank you for watching. Like I said, please review, please rate, thumbs up, subscribe, all that stuff. We're going to see you guys next week with another awesome guest, right?
Absolutely.
So for Tony, I am Chad. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Peace out.
Thanks for listening. You can find more episodes and all other Hot Pie Media originals baked fresh daily at our home on the web at hotpiemedia.com, the Hot Pie Media YouTube channel, or wherever you listen to podcasts.